The Four Magazine, Detroit, baby, we out here. You see what's going on, we activated, we ain't playing no games.
Without further ado, welcome to another episode of Interviews with the Forum Magazine, where we go beyond the veil into the thoughts, ideas, and perspectives of each guest that we sit down with. And today, we have a very special guest, my brother. For those who may not know, introduce yourself to the people, my brother.
Brother DeMarco Muhammad. I'm one of the assistants to Minister Troy here in the city of Detroit of the Nation of Islam. I'm the owner of Supreme Environmental Services. I'm the chairman of the Friends You Need, a nonprofit organization. And again, I'm just your brother. I prefer to be called Brother DeMarco.
Sir, yes, sir.
Because we must first be brothers.
And you've definitely been that. From the first time I met you, brother, you've been welcoming, very sincere in your care and concern. Me and you actually, like the first time we actually met each other, it was what I would like to say a divine circumstance.
Oh, brother, praise be to Allah.
Brothers was going door to door, you know, and brother come knocking on my door. I'm like, what's going on? I know we ain't got no Jehovah's Witnesses over here.
That's right, brother.
But it was the brother. And from then we had conversations, we talked. Our bond has grown. Our relationship has grown over time. Yeah. And I can sincerely say, man, that you are indeed a great brother. And from my opinion, a great example of the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Nation of Islam. And so it was only right that you blessed this room, this chair, this camera, and bless my, platform.
Praise
with
Allah, brother. Your
journey, some wisdom, and just some intel of the Nation of Islam. And as, Black people, where do we go from here? We have a lot of different conversations on this platform, some being hip hop, some being more surface level in regards to the streets, whether it be, streets politics. And then we've also had politicians come on as, I was invited to the call to prayer by student minister Troy Muhammad. And the brother Todd Perkins was there. I had an opportunity to interview Todd Perkins as he was running for mayor recently. So I say that to say that we kind of mix it up a little bit. And so it was only right that we had you come on. So thank you for, coming. Thank you for pulling up.
Yes, sir.
Let's get straight to it. If you were able to describe and explain who is Brother DeMarco, what would that explanation be?
As I said, Brother DeMarco is a brother who's striving to be a witness bearer of the divine, life-giving teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, as exemplified by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. I'm a brother who loves very hard. I think that my history and relation with a lot of people would say it comes from the heart. Because again, once your eyes are open to who and what you are, and you see other people clearly and plainly, particularly our people and all of humanity at some point in time, it gives you a deeper love. So as far as me, I'm striving each and every day to be the best brother that I can be.
Yes, sir. If you can, man, let's talk about your journey. Talk a little bit about where you from,
Okay.
Talk about the city, the climate of the city, as you was coming up as a young pup, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Talk about that for the people, man.
Well, years ago I used to say, and many people know me to be saying this, ain't no hood like Dexter Linwood. Well, I'm a brother who I moved here in '72 from Mobile, Alabama. I was 2 years old. And we've been in the Dexter-Linwood area most of my life. Growing up as a young man, going to Brady Elementary, Durfee Middle School, and then eventually Central, where I graduated from. And the streets start calling. You know, it's a very attractive thing, attractive power when you're surrounded as a young man by negative forces or illegal activity. And of course, that pulled me into the streets. Although I graduated high school with honor English, I remember going, after our graduation in '88, going down to the city hall, and the Mayor Coleman Young, one of the greatest black mayors that we've ever had, he encouraged us to take our skills and our knowledge and keep it with our people. He said, don't go across, you ain't got to go across 8 Mile. That always stuck in my head. So while I was in the streets, brother, I used to be a advanced mechanical drafter. I can draw. I suppose I went into that direction, but again, like I said, the streets, and got involved with activity that led me to prison. I always say when sharing that part of my journey, I ask people pay attention to the math, because I'm sitting here and I pinch myself. When I tell people that I'm here by the faith of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan as far as getting out of prison, I can prove it at no limited time, just doing the math. I leave the streets of the city of Detroit December 22nd, 1990. I committed my crime. December 2nd, 2008. December 2nd, 2008, my mother comes to my parole hearing. 10 days later, 2012, Allah called my mother. She was battling cancer. When she came to my parole hearing, she couldn't walk 10 steps without taking a break. But Allah called her December 12th, 2008. 10 days later makes it December 22nd. I was called to control center, and they gave me a parole. It's all public record. Now, let's back up. During my time of incarceration, I didn't come in want to be a part of anything. Me being affiliated with a number of brothers, and Brother Troy particularly, you know, I ran back into him in prison. And at that time, the teachings were considered contraband. They were not allowed inside of prison. So the brothers ended up getting hold of one copy of the Message to the Black Man. And they used to pass it around to different cell blocks and have brothers to write it out so that they would have access to the copies. Well, this one day, we were on the prison yard, and they was trying to get the material back inside. I wasn't affiliated, but I knew most of the brothers. I was known as a brother manufacturing prison weapons, knives, and stuff, doing foolishness, brother. So Brother Troy seen me. So he asked brother named Richie, hey, holler at my homeboy. And Troy was like, hey, bro, I need your help, man. I said, what's going on? He said, Brother Richie, I need to holler at you. So Brother Richie come to me, a roll of paper, and he passed it off to me. You know how we are in prison, passing stuff off, you know. So he passed off this roll of paper, and take it on up there to the cell. Lo and behold, when I get to the cell, I open it up. It was a handwritten copy of the Message to the Black Man. At that time, brother up in there smoking weed and drinking spudge. So I decided to read this thing. And I'm making mock, I'm laughing like, man, they believe this, man. But look at me now.
Yes, sir.
Years later, when I'm trying to, now at that time, brother, I had a 40-year sentence. I called my mom, and my mom used to drink heavy. I called my mom, it was 93, around 92, 93. And I said, Mom, I'm trying to raise some money for an appeal. My mother just cussed me out. Ain't got no money, we trying to struggle. I think you need to call this guy that just run around here, Farrakhan or something, because they was doing a convention here in the city at that time. I knew my mother wasn't Muslim. She was Christian. I knew my mother wasn't pursuing the teachings. It was just that the program and event was being promoted to a point where the minister's name kept coming. So when she said that, okay, I'd heard of the minister in there. It wasn't until 2 years later, I think it was 94, a brother who couldn't read was the so-called chief aide or captain, and me and him were great friends. His name was Zabata. So the brothers used to do assignments, and he needed help with correcting the assignments, but he couldn't read too well. So we used to sit down in the TV room, and we used to go over these lessons. Now, mind you, I wasn't in the nation. But while I'm doing that, it's going in. It's going in. Lo and behold, I started rotating, as we say, with the brothers. I became a cook inside. I became a certified diet cook. So they used to send me to facilities to help start kitchens. I ended up going up north, and I came back down in 2007 to Mound Road. I was preparing meals that reflected the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad out of How to Eat to Live. So I was given a permission by the prison staff to order the food. So instead of me ordering black eyed peas or pinto beans, I was ordering navy beans. Instead of making, all these crazy salads, I ended up making beet salad because I recall what the messenger said about the blood and how it helps with the blood and diabetes and things of that nature. So I had these 2 meals, right? Now, in order for the brothers to get a meal, they had to have what they call a diet slip. So while I'm serving the meals, I get to the end, I got 2 portions left. A brother from general population comes and says, hey, brother, can I get those? I said, well, you have to ask the supervisor in order to do that. She says no. So I take the meals to the back, do my little paperwork. An officer comes back and grabs the 2. I can't stop the officer. Hey, they go out, you know how I go. They go out, take it out, and was out there eating. The brother who asked me for it saw it. He writes a grievance. So it started this issue. I ain't did nothing. Hey, that's between you all. So I appealed it to a point where the warden came in, Warden Romanowski. He came into the child hall and he questioned me about it. I told him, hey, the situation. As he was leaving, he turned around and he asked me this question. He said, by the way, Hawkins, that's my slave name, Hawkins, where did you get the recipes from? Because people saying the food was good. Thought traveling so fast in my head, what should I do? Speak the truth regardless of the circumstance. I got it from How to Eat to Live by the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I left. 2 weeks later, Officer Shaw comes to the back of the child hall and says, brother, he says, DeMarco, they want you back in the unit. You about to ride out. Okay. I get up to the unit, the counselor calls me. I said, yes, ma'am. She says, you know where you're going? I said, no. I said, that's not policy. Policy don't let prison know where you're going. She says, well, you're going to Cotton, a level 1. Level 1? I'm thinking in my mind, hold on, start a kitchen? No, that's Jackson. Jackson don't need nobody to help start a kitchen. She says, Warden Romanowski petitioned the parole board to give you your good time and disciplinary credits. I automatically became eligible for level 1. I'm going to see the parole board in a year. Now, the nation, all the teachers were taken away when the law called the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad in 77. It wasn't until the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan stood back up with his faith and brought the teachings back. Now, if the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan hadn't stood up, didn't have the faith to go and recoup the teachings, and then start the study guides, the study groups inside of prison, Brother DeMarco wouldn't have never gotten hold of that book. That book wouldn't have no longer become contraband. When the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan structured the prison study groups as a study group, coordinators, chief aide, and so on and so forth. So by me getting a hold of that book, doing what I did, brought me in President Warden, and the warden did what he did because he told the staff, he says, all of my years of being a warden, I never heard no one articulate a grievance the way that young man did. So now, brother, again, I'm still pinching myself.
Sir.
I'm still pinching myself because your brother had a 40-year sentence as an habitual offender. You have to do 85% of that time in order to be considered for parole. I came home in 2009. I'm supposed to still be in prison.
Yeah.
So again, I never could have made it. I never would have made it without you, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. So here again, that's my upbringing. I'm here now. The landscape of the city, our great politicians and our leaders and those who have good intentions on serving our people. You asked a question as to my thoughts on it. Well, one thing that I learned in the teachings when dealing with our people, I was asked one time, well, you was a Christian, why you became Muslim? I said, these teachings has allowed me to enter into any space, any religion, and feel comfortable because I know who I am. I know what I am. I say the division that I see amongst us as a people, it's simple as this. We prescribe ourselves to so many different names, organizations, groups, spaces in life. But yet we all suffer from the same issues. I may come to your house, brother, and say, give me an equation that equals 7. You may say 6 plus 1. I may go to our brother over here, different group, different organization, give me an equation, for 7. He says 6 plus 1. Somebody else may say 4 plus 3. And we all saying everybody is wrong. But we're talking about the same thing. This body that you see, your body, brother, is composed of millions of parts. My lung is different from my eyes. My feet are different from my teeth. My nose is different from my pancreas. But they all work together for the unity of the whole. This is what the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan teaches us in the study guide, self-improvement, which is the basis for community development. At this time and in this hour, what needs to be done is us killing division. We have to kill these descriptive terms that makes it appear as though we're different and we're not working together. No, it's just that my hand don't realize that he needs the foot.
Yeah.
I'm comfortable with being a toe, brother, as long as I'm a part of the body. I don't need to be out front. I don't need to be pointing at my knee when it hurts and say, it's all because of you. No. The whole body has to move.
So if I may ask, right? Mm-hmm. Unity is what we need, but the process to obtain it is what?
Well, God has put us in a position where we've had these teachings for almost 100 years, 1930. So a lot of what you hear from many of our brothers now who have access to podcasts and a camera and a microphone, talking about what we need to be doing and what we can do. We've been had it for years, almost 100. We all had the truth, but we have not been strong enough to live according to what the truth dictates. All right? There's a fear, brother. What we have to remove is fear and ignorance. Unity, as the most honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches, is stronger than the atomic bomb. Now look at this. If he says in the message to the black man that unity is the key to our salvation, unity is the key to our salvation. Us having unity and standing on truth, that's the only thing that's going to get us through. Now, God done blessed us. I'm going to say you and I, right? And those who were present during 1995. What happened? Well, before I tell you that answers help me answer my question by the grace of God, I want to share this. You can open up the Bible and you can see marvelous things. You can see activity happen like, ooh, Moses parted the water. Ooh, you had all these great feats to take place. Now you have 2 million black men to come to the highest superpower in the land, in the world, to assemble 2 million black men. Now let's be realistic about this. Detroit played a part in bringing the largest contingent of black men there, okay? If those 2 million men today, in spirit of what took place in 95, say, I'm going to get 2 more men, the number increases. Let's say we're about to sit down and not go anywhere. We're not about to do anything. Let's just decide that we're going to look at each other the same as one. At that point in time, nothing can stop us. This issue with immigration, no. The teachers teach you who and what we are. If everyone who is being affected today, black, white, candy stripe, accept the truth of honor your mother and father so your days may be long. The mother and father of all creation, brother, of all of humanity, let me get that right, it's the black man and woman. If there's a respect that you can grab hold to from your lineage, to say that you have discovered that within me and from someone else came me, and respect that, that will remove all that, that will remove that complex of superiority and remove that complex we have of inferiority. And it would allow us to look at each other as human beings who have a goal and objective. All that we see that's happening now, that's plaguing the people, would cease to exist.
Yeah.
But we have to believe in that, brother.
So from what I'm getting, even with you explaining the very last portion about honoring thy mother and thy father, what I'm getting is that the idea of unity starts at home. With that being said, if you can, talk a little bit about the strategic intent to destroy the black family.
My brother Troy sent me a reel this morning. And there was a white guy. He had bottles of liquor wrapped with cigarettes. And he went to an area where people were homeless. And all these black men, these brothers who were homeless, was running up to this guy like, yeah, man, give me one, give me one. I said, wow, that increases homelessness. That's not providing a means upon which a person can receive a home. The black man has been destroyed. Let me say this. There has been many ways systematically to destroy him. If we are honest and we look at our books, we see that there's a divine order of things. You have God, you have man, you have woman, and you have children. God, man, woman, children. If you destroy the man, the woman relies on whoever that one is that's in control. Everything from the food that we eat, brother, that they have provided us with in the last 400 years, even now the water full of toxins and lead, even the killing fields of the school, which don't teach you who and what you are. It destroys your mental capacity. Once you give the black man drugs, once you give him liquor, once you provide for him, he becomes dependent on you. That takes away his ability to be responsible in his role as one who maintains, protects, and provides. He can't do it. So everybody else gets affected. So now your woman has to go and work. Now she becomes loose. Now she has to compromise herself. Now she becomes all of these negative names that was made because the man wasn't able to do his job. You see, now the children, as I said to you earlier, brother, about my very own, you have to be intentional and watch everything, securing all temporal property in view. All temporal property means all of your people, your family, right? Right now, today, brother, you see that it's coming up on the news how these foods have affected us here. And it's still that way until we decide, as the minister tells us, get out of her. Get out of her. The first thing he says that must be done in this time, and what must be done? Getting our mouths up out of the devil's kitchen. Quit feeding our children that which debilitates the mind. And this is why we have our children all over the place. Their minds is being destroyed. We are still being destroyed by what we're eating, whether it's physical food or mental food. What we feed our mind with this device, with things out there in the community. It causes us to be a people that when you look at us, we're not worthy or capable of leading. But the potential of us doing so is there because God put it there. So now back to the unity piece, brother. We all have to work in concert when it comes to right now. What's most important as it relates to the family is our youth. We have to get to our youth and be more deliberate with unifying us and bringing them into an environment that instills not only the knowledge of self, but instills that love of self, that love of community, that love of family, and that love of doing something for ourselves. This world, and when I say world is defined as a sphere of activity. These sphere of activity is being initiated by the devil. It's being initiated by those with ill intent. So this world and this activity, brother, is a challenge. It's a war. We have to get up out of this world and create a world of our own with new activity, with new thought, new mind, a new way of thinking, which will cause us to have a new way of doing.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, the black woman is in a very strange place right now. And the reason why I say strange is because when I pay attention to social media, it's like we went through the era of, for the lack of a better word, niggas ain't shit. We went through that era, but now we're in a time where we have artists like Sexy Red, we have the Cardi B's, we have the Meg Thee Stallions, right? Men are being more critical of women in this time. As it pertains to the revitalization of black people in America, how important is the woman's role, and should men be a little bit more lenient in how they criticize women, being that they come from where they come from?
Good question. Oh. They're criticizing themselves by criticizing her. They're criticizing their lack. They're criticizing their inability. And in truth, they're criticizing what they have been doing or not doing, being led by this world. The woman is very important. She's the most important. The Most Honorable Brother Muhammad teaches us that she's the second self of God. The minister once said that when you're talking to a man, you're talking to an individual. When you're talking to a woman, you're talking to a nation. She's our first teacher. She's our first nurse. She's our first guide. And in the eyes of all of us, she becomes our first God. So she's very important. You can't say any of these beautiful sisters are this and that, using a negative adjective to put on them, their name, to prefix their name, that she's this, she's that. No, there's no such thing as a no good woman, for there's a man who made her that way. Us not having the knowledge of who we are, who she is, she's allowed to be whoever this world makes her to be and allows her to be for the sake of money, for the sake of fame. So she ridicules herself, she demeans herself. But it's not her. It's the nation in and of itself that's being looked at. So from the eyes of the world looking in here at America, that has become a cage of everything. It's being produced by a woman. When you look at the community, the black community particularly, right? It's being produced by her. But now she has to be given the knowledge. But the one who's given her the knowledge has to be led by a divine knowledge to get her to recognize her divinity, so now she can produce divinity in our children. You see? So today, brother, we living in a very strange time. However, the truth is here. We all know the truth. I guarantee you, you sit and talk to these sisters who do these things at night, or when they wake up and you laying there and you talking to somebody. You say, well, tomorrow I got to get up and do this. I got to get up and do that. Who are you talking to? But after you done did a particular thing, God done put in you a nature that questions that. You don't feel good about that. You just doing it to achieve a means to an end. That's not really you. Your conscience is not satisfied, because once that young lady start having children, she's going to be embarrassed to let her daughter see, her son see her conducting herself that way. The same thing with the brothers. It hurts us. I know it hurts a brother to see a sister get on the news and she's struggling with the baby, or they discover that this woman, one of our sisters, had children in there. She had to leave and go do this, and the children end up being neglected and being subjected to some unhealthy environments. Then all of a sudden, she gets arrested, she's ridiculed, she's dragged through the mud, she's an animal. Then all of a sudden, a news reporter turns to this man that's approaching, says, oh, here comes the dad. Here comes the father. It ain't no issue on him, it's they finna lock the mother up. Not to say to lock anybody up, the point I'm drawing is this here, brother. He has a conscience too. He knows, in the inside of him, he feels bad. But he don't want to live according to that truth of, what's next for me? What should I do? I should have been here. I known about this. She wouldn't let me see the children. And it's a back and forth type of thing. But what we do, and what we have to continue to do, is have a mindset of Jesus. The Lord forgive them, for they know not what they do. And continue to impart this knowledge. Continue to work cheerfully, because our people have been destroyed. That brother who's so-called dad of them, the mom, struggling in this world. This world created that environment, that situation. You see, brother? So this is why things like that take place, and we have to be very mindful not to continue to use his microphone to the world, his television to the world, to continue to ridicule each other and beat each other down. No, we take our people and we correct them in the strictest of privacy. We shouldn't be using this here to help continue to create the narrative that we ain't nothing, that we're animals, that we savage. We know this behavior and activity takes place, but who was our foster parents who taught us this? Who was the very one created an environment in the world upon which we feed off of to do the things that we're doing? You have to, this truth is here, but we have to be strong enough to live according to what it dictates. You see? So as it relates to that, beloved, it's a serious time. And we have to start loving on each other more. We have to start loving on each other more. When we get in front of these cameras and in these microphones and all these social media platforms, love should be the order of the day. Love ye one another as he has loved us.
Yes, sir. You said something that stood out to me. And as a platform, sometimes most times, I like to be the voice of the people.
Yeah, you are.
The people will hear a statement that you made in regards to the foster parent by which these ideas come from and say, oh, here go these brothers talking about the white man again. The white man did this and the white man did that. For those people who have issues with reiterating a fact that has transpired throughout history, that is a direct connection to the condition that we're in right now, how would you respond to that level of criticism that our people give to you and brothers and sisters of the Nation of Islam?
Well, first, to our people who do that, let me say this to you. Brother DeMarco loves you. Right, wrong, bad, or indifferent. I know of a man who loves you more than you love yourself. And that being the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, who teaches us, Lord, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And that even includes myself and you, brother. I don't exclude nobody. But to that criticism, here we go, the white man. I think that they will be rewarded if they was to study their history. That comes from a person who lacks the knowledge of history, of our history here. Whoever that person may be, they only will go so far in history. But if they went beyond that history and really did their research, instead of trying to follow us criticizing each other on this, just put in this thing the history of us 100 years ago. Look at the activity that's taking place. It's taking place by and started with the white man or the slave master. That's just a fact. That's just a reality. But we're not today throwing that up as a means of excuse to stop us from doing what we have to do. We know the truth. Now we have to be strong enough to live according to what the truth dictates and no longer do those things. It's no longer a blame game. As anybody say when they greet me or see me, hey brother, how you doing? I say, I'm maintaining, never complaining. No, because I know now. I know how it started. I know why I did what I did. I know why he or she did what they did. Lord, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And I understand that us living here in this world, why we act out the way we act out. So I understand why they criticize. We understand that. But it's just misplaced. Yeah. And I think that's just a misunderstanding and a lack of understanding, because we have to research our history. And I guarantee, if you just tell them, listen, research your history is going to reward you.
Yeah.
And you will find the truth.
Yes, sir. And in context of what we're talking about in whole, because just as a reminder and like a footnote for the listeners, we're talking about unity. We're talking about unity in the spirit of the Million Man March of 1995. So just keep that in mind as I ask this next question. We talked about the father, the mother. Now let's dive more into the children, right? We're living in a time now where our young people, are being referred to as YNs, young niggas. Ski masked up. The older people are afraid of the young people. It appears to be a disconnect between young and old, where young people don't listen to the elders as they did back in the day, and elderly people don't consider the information and wisdom of the young people in today's time. Many young people, it seems to be a disconnect to traditional faith. What role does the lack of spirituality or religion directly impacts children's decisions today?
The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan teaches us this in the study guide, self-improvement, which is the basis for community development, which I encourage us all to read. A mental death, and I'm paraphrasing, a mental death leads to a spiritual death, which leads to an untimely physical death. If we were to study our history and see how connected we were as a family back in the 50s and 60s, or once we exited the plantation, there was a cohesiveness. There was a family structure. At some point in time when integration came about, the family started being taken apart. Dad went on out to work, sometimes mom went out to work, and we started becoming attracted to these things that took our interests away from that which we found to be more important. And not to say that we didn't find family to be important, but I think that, you trying to feed your family, that becomes a priority. The disconnect is most definitely there, brother. I think that when you look at the history again, for instance, in the 70s and 80s, when drugs was placed into the community, again, destroying the black man, destroying the father, destroying the respect of the family, and just to be succinct, all of these things were used to bring about what we have today. I look at that as being what I call collateral damage. This war that's against the black man to destroy the black man, these are the collateral damages to it, to whereas the book says there's going to come a time where the hearts of the children will be turned back to the fathers. This situation we're living in is going to force us to fall back in love with each other. It's going to force us to deal with each other. The term YN or young niggas, as I always say, well, if you got a young nigga, this means that there was an old nigga who made them that way. And they are either feeding off of somebody who's teaching them to be that, or they're creating these things on their own without the proper guidance. And see, that's the thing. With our young people, what we have to do is get behind them, because there's a transition being made. Most of the young people nowadays, they were born and birthed into this technology, into this internet, into this World Wide Web, right? Where some of the older folks, we wasn't born into that. We was born in cassette tapes and CDs and things of that nature. So it creates an indifference when we're looking at a particular issue. Oh, mom, y'all out of date, y'all old, I think that until we're able to address the transitioning of an old world going out and a new world going in, then that's going to allow us to be unified back as a family. Because even in the scriptures, when they were leaving Pharaoh and they was exiting out, they said the old folks had to be done away with. They just had to die off. That old way of thinking, that old mind. So I would encourage the older brothers and sisters and elders, we have to get behind. We have to get behind our youth in a world where many of us are totally absent of the knowledge on how to deal with it. Lastly, digital literacy. I want to punctuate what I'm saying with a program that we have in our organization called Using Digital Literacy to Fight Illiteracy. Okay? Because there's a number of our people who fall victim to this digital divide, and it's creating one against the other. We have a lot of our young people now who've been led by this here, not knowing how to actually navigate it to where it can benefit them and our people. So there, that divide there, brother, when it comes to this technology piece, you have one side who know and the other side who don't know. You have one side who may be knowledgeable of it but not having the right guidance, and you have those who don't have a knowledge of it and become victimized by it. As lastly, and as we transition, because the world is transitioning, we're going to find three groups of people, in my humble opinion. Those who are going to be victimized by it, die off with it. Those who are going to maintain and be straddling. Then you're going to have those who are going to be able to take advantage of it and benefit from it.
So now I want to talk a little bit about finances. A lot of times we try to give guidance, and we try to lead, men, women, and children in the right direction, but oftentimes financial despair becomes overwhelming to where, it'd be a little difficult for a person to pull themselves out the mud when you're struggling financially. You being a business owner, you knowing what the Nation of Islam has done financially from the times of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad to the time of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, having that understanding, what are some of the steps or some of the things that Black people need to do financially to get ahead?
As I said earlier, one thing is unity and unifying our finance, unifying that dollar, unifying our incomes in a way where it's that it benefits us. I think that we all are familiar with the term of circulating the dollar within the community, in the Black community. And we see a great example of this in other communities, whether it's the Lebanese community, the Jewish community, the Italian community. This is something that we have to get to. However, we're not going to get there continuously using the old way of doing things. We have to come into this new reality by way of a new thought, a new mind, and a new way of doing it. With that new way, it's going to cause for sacrifice. Many of us don't understand sacrifice. When we're taught to fast in the nation, whether it's the national 3-day fast, or as the Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches, eating 1 meal a day. This ties into your finance as well. If you can make that sacrifice to cut down on 3 meals a day, if each one of the meals, let's say for instance, you have 4 children, you have 4 family members. Each one of your meals is $5. That's $20 a day. And you eating every day. 20 times 7 is $140 a week. Now, if you were just to break that down and say that, hey, the adults and those who are able to eat 1 meal a day, look at the change in the numbers. At the same time, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has taught us and given us an example and a blueprint on how to do it. As I said earlier, we're not strong enough to live according to what it dictates. And for those who are listening, understand when I say the Nation of Islam, I'm talking about Black people. I'm not talking about in order for you to practice these teachings or put them to work, you got to be a registered member. No, that's your personal desire of wanting to come on board and do more. But to your question, brother, when it comes to finance, for us as a people, we have to look at this thing differently from the way in which we have been looking at it. because when you absent yourself from you personally and look at this thing from outside as a nation, you look at America, for example. America is in debt. Trillions of dollars. That's going to go over the average person here. They ain't going to be paying no attention to that. But then we have a man who teaches you about the fall of America and its finances, how to escape that, how to get around that. And I believe sacrifice needs to be had. And the greatest sacrifice you can make where God would reward you is by way of fasting to discipline yourself from those things. Spending your money wastefully, it'll teach you how to do that, and spending your money wisely. And let me say this, I was blessed to work in the Jewish community, the Italian community, and the Lebanese community. The one thing that I found present in those communities that I didn't in other communities, including my own, was a functioning dinner table. A functioning dinner table. What do I mean by that? You have a table where everything is structured. Mom sit here, dad sit here, the older sit here, the daughter sit here, grandbaby sit here. You know, we see it when, you know, if you're blessed to go to the home of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, you have a dinner table where we come and discuss issues, all types of issues. That's one thing I think that we need to get back to. Yeah. And make it mandatory. Make that sacrifice to make it mandatory for us to come home, sit at a dinner table. No, ain't nobody finna take a plate in the basement. No, you ain't finna get ready to take yours upstairs. No, we wanna sit down to see what's going on and craft out a plan for the family, you see? And you could talk about finance at the table. But then some people will say, oh, DeMarco, that ain't realistic. Bro, be for real, man. We out here right now, they cutting off SNAP, you know. We trying to find a pantry to go to. Man, I gotta go do this, I gotta go do that. That's where that sacrifice come in at. You gotta look at your life and the everyday activity and say, well, I don't have time to do that. Let me cut back on this here and start to do this here. That brings in more. Yeah. I may not be able to rip and run the way in which I rip and run. Hold on, I may not be able to come over there and do that. Let me narrow down right now and get the household and this structure together, you know. But us as a people as a whole, I truly believe that we all know the truth, but we may not be strong enough to live according to what the truth dictates. Sure. And it prevents us from actually working together with strengthening that dollar to make sure that it circulates. And I'm gonna say this here about our brother. He does a great job with highlighting black businesses here in the city of Detroit, you know. And again, that's another way of doing it.
Sir, yes, sir. Well, man, before we close and we get out of here, I want to mix it up a little bit. Okay. I want to just ask you just a couple just random fun questions, man.
Yes, sir.
Who is from your standpoint, your vantage point, who is the best basketball? Who is your favorite basketball player?
I don't have one. I'm not no sports fanatic like that. Your brother, you know, I can count on half a hand how many times I done watched a game whistle to whistle. That's either basketball, football, any of it. I enjoy the sport now, don't get me wrong. But I think I would be a little dishonest in answering it, and it'd just be an answer according to who may be the most popular, who was the most notable doing things. I don't per se would say this is my favorite because I follow that person. I had to really be inside of their profession to say this is what makes them that, other than saying, oh, Michael Jordan, everybody say Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
Because he come up in my time, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But your brother it's not one of those to give you an honest answer.
So if I was to flip it and say musician?
You know I love the most powerful genre there is out there. That's hip hop, brother. I come from them hip hop era. My favorite hip hop my favorite artist, I got a male and a female. Well, not in the hip hop. In hip hop, it's Tupac. Because I believe that brother and his spirit during my time of incarceration, it was brothers like that and his music, you know, that carried me through there. And Miss Anita Baker. I love the music of Miss Anita Baker. So those two.
Now, the reason why I asked that question is because in order to be the best at anything, there has to be certain qualities that these individuals hold that makes them that. So from your vantage point with Tupac and Anita Baker, if you could give us that level of like divinity or greatness that make them who they are.
Well put, brother. First, I'm gonna start with the sister. If you study her life and her upbringing beyond the music, which I believe produced the music, you get into a person's why. And at that point, you would discover great things. That's of divinity because we all have God in us. And you look at our testimonies and our experiences. But her upbringing to me is what helped her produce such a voice and such a music that I was able to resonate. And it helped comforted me during my time of pain, you see, because again, in studying her life and her tied into her music, you can see how that was produced, right? With Brother Tupac, you can see how a lot that was instilled in him from his parents in that era dealing with the Black Panthers and that conscious movement. You could see when you study our brother, you could see his struggles while he was performing and executing that art, you see, to whereas now the divinity that's found in is that God allowed this young brother to express himself in a way where it's that now when I listen to his music, like, wow. And one of my favorites is Smile with him and our great brother Scarface. And if we really look at the video, right now we should be giving Face his flowers. Because one part in the video where you see the sister in the mud and we just walking over her because our eyes is fixated on an angelic feature of a Caucasian woman. And she just lay there and she just turned her head like, damn, in pain. And there's so much symbolism in that, brother. That's the basis to some things that I'll be doing by the grace and will of God. But
yeah, if you can talk about that before we get out of here, what you got coming up, what can the people expect, and then any last words that you want to give to the people in general.
Yes. Well, what's next is going to be a podcast that's going to be airing soon. I'm going to start capturing this content and this footage. I was told by a great sister years ago that the work that we do, we just do it naturally. But if we was able to capture the data of what it is that we do, it'd be of great benefit of not only ourselves, but to people who need to hear it and see it. So what's next is coming. And also the Friends You Need nonprofit organization, you can go to our website, thefriendsyouneed.org, and that's the letter U. And you can see the programs that we are involved in. That's what's coming, brother. I have to start, like I said, sharing more, because I believe as the scripture teaches us, as iron sharpen iron, so does man sharpen man. So it's my prayer that something that I shared today was of good. And before I close, I do want to say this. I'm being very intentional with illiteracy. It was very staggering to me that 47% of adults here in the city of Detroit are illiterate. And in my mind, you can't approach 47% of these people and say that they are illiterate, you know? I believe that pride goes before destruction and a haughty spirit before a fall. We have to really seriously look at this thing and see the effects that illiteracy is going to be playing on the fabric of our society and our community. In closing, it is my prayer that anything I said of good, please attribute that to God. Anything I may have said that may have offended anyone, please charge it to my head, not my heart. And I am a brother who can be reached. And if you want to have further discussion, you know, as civilized human beings, reach out to me, you know, and we can have that conversation. But more importantly, let's continue to unify and love on each other. I truly believe, brother, that the genuine expression of love that's displayed by a people is indicative to the presence of God.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, it was definitely an honor and a privilege to have you, brother. Like I said before, I appreciate you taking time out your schedule to pull up on us, man. And until next time, Brother DeMarco Muhammad, the Foreign Magazine, Pulse of the Culture. Let's get it.